There once was a woman named Marylin. She was a female at her early 20s who has a certain complex called the guilt complex. What is the guilt complex, you ask? According to analytical psychology, the complex of guilt derives from the eternal aspiration of the justice, and when something goes wrong, the person who possesses this complex starts feeling personal guilt for it. The complex might also appear due to the sublimation of a certain traumatic events, i.e. witnessing the accident that took place in the past and which the person wanted to prevent but cannot. The obsessed idea that everything could have been done better. The readiness to accept the responsibility even if one didn't commit wrongdoings. The inability to judge objectively. The miscomprehension of the person's limits and the constant attempts to surpass them. The high sensitivity to the opinions of others. The complex of guilt provokes, undoubtedly, the sufferings and the major inconvenience in the rational vision of the surrounding people and current events. It should be liquidated as soon as possible. Its complete cure requires the deep psychoanalytical approach with the intense restoration analytical therapy. But one day, she wandered into an old shack that happens to have webs hanging within the ceiling. The lights instantly came on, displaying an old woman who was described as an obese old hag who has a large nose and a face full of warts. "Welcome," said the old hag as she provided Marylin a seat. Marylin was way too frightened to respond due to the lack of subtlety. "I see we have a problem, don't we?" said the old hag as she continued to examine Marylin. Marylin wanted to say something, but she was too scared to even move her lips. What was scary about the hag? Was it her face? Her lack of subtlety? What was it about her that scares Marylin? The hag moves back into her chair, then gave her a daring look. "Your misery knows no limits," the hag said. "But I do wonder, do you even realize your place in this world?" The hag asked as she was curious about Marylin's psyche. "What do you mean?" Marylin finally asked. "You believe that this world is better without you. Agree or disagree?" the hag asked Marylin. Before Marylin could even respond, the hag said, "I got it! If you really want to know your true worth, you will be tested upon what you believe," the hag said as she began to chant a certain spell. The hag then finished the chant and said, "You see, you must be able to walk upon the footsteps of the lone. From now on, until further notice, you'll only be seen as a mere monster until you realize you are naturally human," the hag said. "But if you decide to commit suicide, you will be that monster forever," the hag said in a grave voice. Before Marylin said anything, the hag kicked her out and slammed the door behind her. After the approach of midnight, she looked at herself in the mirror, and what she saw was a very unpleasant sight. The imagery was absolutely horrifying. Her mirror image was viewed as a similar figure with blood pinkish flesh, dark as hell eyes, and carved out mouth and no nose. Marylin was so terrified that spiritual visions of that one image began grabbing a hold of her. One of them forced Marylin to grab a handgun from her personal box. Marylin tried to stop it, but it was no use. The force was merely too powerful for her to stop. The handgun was forced into her mouth, and all you can hear from her last breath was, "No." The spirits forced her fingers to pull the trigger, therefore. She had committed suicide. She woke up, not to heaven nor hell, but she woke up in the same bedroom that she was in last night. No blood nor handgun to be found. When she went outside, no humans saw her at all. Were they ignoring her? She tried to touch one of them, but it went through as she never existed. She went back into her house crying and crying for hours. At the hour of 9 within the night, she went outside and began to scream so unbearably loud that it actually got every human's attention. "What is wrong with you people?" Marylin began to shout. "Too scared to even say hi to a decent human being?" she continued. "Let me guess. I'm ugly, is that right?" she shouted. Everyone slowly began to walk away. "Look at me. Look at me. Look at me!" Marylin screamed, in which turned into 1,000 roars of pain. "I want you all to look at me!" she screamed, in which everyone else screamed in pain, forcefully bending their knees and gripping their heads. But Marylin finally saw what she has become. She slowly went back into her house, on her knees, and cried very softly. Then she screamed that many would consider the scream of the damned. "Damn you! Damn you, ugly, filth-driven bitch!" she blamed the hag. "One day, you will pay dearly for what you did. I promise you," Marylin said before she fled to find the hag that cursed her. Indeed, those were her final words.